So today we're going to be kind of looking at the other side of the coin from last Shabbat. Last Shabbat, if you missed it, you missed out on a topic not a lot of churches teach on anymore, and it's got to be a first for me too. It's you touch on the topic here and there, but I think it is the first time I've taught on hell, and it's if you missed it, the the video is archived. It's titled "Hell: The Reward That Some Choose," and it is a choice, right? Because Deuteronomy 11:26-28, God says that, "Behold, I set before you today a blessing and a curse: a blessing if you follow my commands, and a curse if you do not." So it's all about a choice. The Torah itself is essentially neutral. It's not for us or against us. It takes one form of the other, depending totally on our free will and what we choose. And I mentioned last time that there's two kinds of people. There's people that are motivated by pleasure and those that are motivated by pain. So we can't ignore teaching and studying and learning about hell. It's a scary topic. It's unpleasant. It's supposed to be that way, right? But we can't ignore it because we have to understand that there are people that's how they're motivated. Yeshua knew that, right? Because he taught about hell way more than he taught about heaven. And today we're going to look, like I told you, the other side of the coin. We're going to be looking at heaven, what we know. We're going to be looking at the who, what, when, where, essentially, about heaven, because there's a lot of confusion, I would say, or at least some confusion as to, what's heaven going to be like? Where is heaven? What are we going to do? Eternity is a mighty long time. What are you going to do? Are we just going to sing all day? What's going to happen? And you even get foolish folks that somehow think that it's going to be boring, and they say foolish stuff like, I'm going to go, I'm going to the hot spot because at least I'll be able to party and have fun with my friends. And that is the sickest, most twisted thing, and they just speak of what they do not know. And nothing could be further from the truth. The isolation, the fear, the pain, the suffering, there is no partying. But if you're interested in a party, heaven to me sounds much more like it. Music and singing and dancing and shouts of joy and joy unspeakable, right? So want to clear up a few things. I had the image when I was a kid, mainly because of cartoons, Tom and Jerry specifically. You guys probably have seen the images of heaven where you're floating around in heaven on a cloud. You've got your white garment and your golden harp and your halo and your wings, and you're just kind of cruising around, right? Yeah, that's not it. That's it's not it at all. Not even close. Not sure where they get that. Entertaining when you're a kid, right? But that's not it. So we're going to look at a few things. And I was struggling even on the ride in here. Like, where do I start? We had a lot of verses today, and I feel like I know what the order should be on most of it, but we're just going to kind of go with it and try to tie up the loose ends by the end. But let's start in John 14. So Josh, if you could read the verses from John 14 for me. I think it's 1-6. We'll see.
Do not let your heart be troubled. Do not let your heart be troubled. Trust in God. Trust also in me. In my Father's house there are many dwelling places. If it were not so, would I have told you that I am going to prepare a place for you? If I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and take you to myself, so that where I am, you may also be. And you know the way to where I am going. Thomas said to him, Master, we don't know where you are going. How can we know the way? Yeshua said to him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
All right. So we started out there with a declarative statement, a command: do not let your heart be troubled. right? We live in troubling times. Life is scary, okay? I was talking with my son on the ride in today, and he had no idea. We're actually, because when he put up the verses last night, he was surprised to see that Revelation 21:8 is going to be part of what we read today, and he's like, "Oh, that's weird. I've got that too." And it was not planned, it was not coordinated, and clearly not part of the Torah portion either, but it's what God put on his heart. So it's important and worth repeating, right? That we discussed on the ride in that, man, these are scary times. And I confessed to my son, and I guess I'm confessing to you now too, that, there's a certain amount of fear in my heart. Especially as a blind man. If you ever want to feel like a liability to your family or to anybody else, I don't recommend you try it, but try it. That's what I'm saying. When you can't see to defend yourself, you can't see to do a lot of things, it's a very helpless feeling, right? But I told Josh, I said, thank God that he didn't say that the scared or the nervous or the troubled or the fearful were part of that list, right? Only the cowards. So my added bonus lesson today wasn't really part of what we're planning on talking about, is it's okay to feel what you feel. It is disturbing if you listen to the news, especially if you listen to it as much as I do, because I feel I have to be a watchman on the wall for this congregation and for my family to know what's coming. And what's coming is not pretty. And by the sound of how the FBI now is beating the drum on things that are coming, it's going to be an interesting election season. That's all I can say. But Yeshua says, don't let your heart be troubled. So the difference between somebody who's scared, we'll just use that word, and someone who's a coward is the person who is the coward will withdraw into themselves and not do what they're called to do. The person who's scared, who's got the butterflies, who's fearful, but says, nonetheless, despite how I feel, I'm going to do what the Lord has commanded me to do. I'm going to be what the Lord has called me to be. That is the difference. And I'm going to embarrass Steve here, because he was ex-military Green Beret. And if I'm wrong, Steve, say so. But were you ever scared on a mission? Yes. But you didn't let that affect you, did you? You went and did what you were called to do, correct? And God's got him here today. God protected him. God got him through it. So we're all in a spiritual war every day. There's a battle for our souls. There's a battle for our families. There's a battle for our congregation, our community, our nation. And we all have to just understand it's okay to feel what you feel. Just do not let it do anything to dissuade you from what your mission is. Amen? All right, we got way off track there. But Yeshua's telling his disciples, because they didn't know, where are you going? Where is this place? And Yeshua assures them that, look, I'm going someplace to prepare a place for you. Where is it? Well, we know it's with him, because where I am, there you will be also. We know in general terms, from the Bible, from Torah, from the sages, that there's a general up and down sort of thing going on, right? We go up to heaven, or heaven forbid, for those who make the wrong choices, they descend and go down, not only into the grave, but into Hades, which again we discussed last week, which ultimately will be thrown into the lake of fire. So there's that up and down thing. Also in Judaism, there's that idea of as above, so below. So we are a reflection of in some ways, of what's happening in the heavenly realms. But we think of when we die, we go up to heaven. Paul says to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. Yeshua told the thief, one of the thieves on the cross, that today you will be with me in paradise. So there is this place that awaits us that is seamless, that when we draw our last breath here, for whatever the reason is, it's just our time or whatever the case is, we will be with the Lord. Our flesh will not be, not until the resurrection at the end. And then we will be resurrected to be with him. Okay? So, that being said, let's go to learn a little bit more about what the Bible actually says about heaven, because again, comparatively little compared to what is spoken of about the other place. So let's go to Revelation chapter 21, Josh, please.
Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. I also saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. I also heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling of God is among men, and he shall tabernacle among them. They shall be his people, and God himself shall be among them and be their God. He shall wipe away every tear from their eyes, and death shall be no more, nor shall there be mourning or crying or pain any longer, for the former things have passed away. And the one seated upon the throne said, Behold, I am making all things new. Then he said, Write, for these words are trustworthy and true. Then he said to me, It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will freely give from the spring of the water of life. The one who overcomes shall inherit these things, and I will be his God, and he shall be my son. But for the cowardly and faithless and detestable and murderers and sexually immoral and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars, their lot is in the lake that burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. Then came one of the seven angels holding the seven bowls full of the seven final plagues, and he spoke with me, saying, Come, I will show you the bride, the wife of the Lamb. And he carried me away in the Ruach to a great and high mountain, and he showed me the holy city, Jerusalem, coming down out of the heaven from God, having the glory of God, her radiance like a most precious stone, like a jasper, sparkling like crystal. She had a great high wall with 12 gates, and above the gates 12 angels. On the gates were inscribed the names of the 12 tribes of Bnei Yisrael. 3 gates on the east, 3 gates on the north, and 3 gates on the south, 3 gates on the west. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and on them the 12 names of the 12 emissaries of the Lamb. The angel speaking with me had a gold measuring rod to measure the city and its gates and walls. The city is laid out as a square, its length the same as its width. He measured the city with the rod, 12,000 stadia. Its length and width and height are equal. He also measured its wall, 144 cubits by human measurement, which is also an angel's measurement. The material of the city's wall was jasper, while the city was pure gold, clear as glass. The foundations of the city wall were decorated with every kind of precious stone. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth carnelian, the seventh yellow topaz, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, the 12th amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each of the gates was from a single pearl, and the street of the city was pure gold, transparent as glass. and I saw no temple in her, for its temple is Adonai Elohei Tsebaot and the Lamb. And the city has no need for the sun or the moon to shine on it, for the glory of God lights it up, and its lamp is the Lamb. The nations shall walk by its light, and the kings of the earth bring their glory into it. Its gates shall never be shut by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring into it the glory and honor of the nations. And nothing unholy shall ever enter it, nor anyone doing what is detestable or false, but only those written in the book of life.
So I meant to start out all of this with a bit of a disclaimer. And, you know, the disclaimer is basically that be careful, anyone who tells you, I got it all figured out. That's true when it comes to the rapture, pre, mid, post, no rapture, whatever. Or heaven is like this. These guys got it wrong. These guys got it right. And just knock it off. 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 9 says, no eye has seen, no ear has heard, nor has entered into the heart of man the wonders that God has in store for his children. So with that in mind, I'm telling you, I can't even imagine how awesome it's going to be. But this description from Revelation 21 just begins to kind of slap me upside the head with my imagination just picturing the scene. Can you even imagine? I think some of the translations of the measurements that's given there, it's 1,500 miles. The city, the holy city, the New Jerusalem, is 1,500 miles wide, 1,500 miles deep, and 1,500 miles high. That is a phenomenal distance. I remember when I was young and moved to Florida to go to Bible college, leaving from southeastern Massachusetts down to Palm Harbor, Florida, where my parents were living at the time, was something like, I want to say it was 1,400 miles. Now, granted, it's not 1,400 nautical miles as in the straight line, with a lot of twists and turning. But even with all of those twists and turns, you just picture, Boston to Tampa. That's insanely far. And the idea that it's just as deep as it is wide, it's just as tall, and I should have looked this up, but I think the International Space Station, isn't that something like 200 miles above the Earth? So 1,500 miles high. In my imagination runs wild with that. Can I explain it? No. I'd worry about anyone else that thinks that they can. They might have some great ideas and great opinions, and that's cool, and it should be entertained. Maybe that someone is right, but just think about that, and the immense beauty of the glory of this place that you and I will dwell in and have access to. It just blows my mind. So just that one aspect of it, it's just beyond comprehension for me. Let's go quickly to Revelation 22.
Then the angel showed me a river of the water of life, bright as crystal, flowing from the throne of God and of the Lamb. Down the middle of the city street, on either side of the river, was a tree of life, bearing 12 kinds of fruit, yielding its fruit each month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. No longer will there be any curse. The throne of God and of the Lamb shall be in the city, and his servants shall serve him. They shall see his face, and his name shall be on their foreheads. Night shall be no more, and people will have no need for lamplight or sunlight, for Adonai Elohim will shine on them, and they shall reign forever and ever.
So, it's this amazing picture, and we'll get into the trees of life that are lining either side of this river that's flowing. With leaves for the healing of the nations. We'll get into that maybe here in a little bit. But I wanted to show you something else that's closely tied with this portion from Revelation 22, and it emphasizes the point that there is nothing new in the New Testament, the New Covenant. Right? It's all one thing, and it's pretty neat, and with some added information from Ezekiel. So let's go to Ezekiel chapter 47, and you're going to note some pretty cool similarities and then some extra information. So Ezekiel 47, please.
Then he brought me back to the door of the house. Behold, water was flowing out from under the threshold of the house eastward, for the front of the house faced east. The water was flowing down from under the right side of the house, south of the altar. He brought me out by way of the north gate and led me around, outside by the way of the outer gate, the way of the gate looking east. Behold, water was trickling out from the right side. When the man went out eastward with the line in his hand, he measured 1,000 cubits. Then he led me into the water to the ankles. Again he measured up 1,000 and led me into the water to the knees. Again he measured up 1,000 and he led me into the water up to the waist. Again he measured 1,000. And now it was a river that I could not pass through, for the water had risen, water to swim in, a river that could not be crossed. He said to me, "Have you seen this, Son of Man?" Then he brought me back to the bank of the river. When I had returned, behold, there were very many trees on one side, and on the other along the bank of the river. Then he said to me, "These waters go out toward the eastern region. They go down to Arabia and enter the sea. When they arrive at the sea, the waters of the sea will flow and will become fresh. It will be that every living creature that swarms will live wherever the river goes. There will be a very great multitude of fish, because this water goes there and makes the salt water fresh. So everything will be healed and live wherever the river goes. Fishermen will stand by it from En Gedi to En Eglaim. It will be a place for spreading of nets. Their fish will be of many different kinds, like the fish of the great sea, a huge quantity. Its swamps and marshes will not become fresh. They will be set aside for salt. On the river, on its banks, and on the side and that side will grow every kind of tree for food. Its leaf will not wither, its fruit will not fail, and it will bear new fruit every month, because its water flows out from the sanctuary. Its fruit will be for food, and its leaf will be for healing. Thus says Adonai Elohim, this will be the border by which you would divide the land for inheritance, according to the 12 tribes of Israel, Joseph receiving 2 portions. You will inherit it, each one like another, as I lifted my hand to give to your fathers. So this land will fall to you as inheritance. This will be the boundary of the land on the north side, from the great sea by way of Hethlon to the entrance of Zedad. Hamath, Berothas, Sibraim, which is between the border of Damascus and the border of Hamath, as far as Hazer Hatikon, which is on the border of Haran. So the border from the sea will be Hazer Enon at the border of Damascus, with the territory of Hamath to the north. This will be the northern side. The east side between Haran, Damascus, Gilead, and the land of Israel will be by the Jordan. You will measure from the northern border to the eastern sea. This will be the eastern side. The south side, southward, will be from Tamar as far as the waters of Meribah Kadesh, to the Wadi of Egypt and to the great sea. This will be the southern side toward the south. The west side will be the great sea from the southern border as far as the front of the entrance of Hamath. This will be the western side. You are to divide this land for yourselves to the tribes of Israel. So you are to divide it by lot for an inheritance for you and for the outsiders who dwell among you. Whoever bears children among you, they will be to you like the native born of Bnei Yisrael. They will be allotted an inheritance along with you among the tribes of Israel. In whatever tribe the outsider lives, there you will give him his inheritance. It is a declaration of Adonai.
All right. So, I'm not one to say, "Thus saith the Lord," unless I'm literally quoting scripture or I'm confident. So, this is just some thoughts, my interpretation of some things, and chew on it and do with it what you will. But the scenario, the unfolding, the eschatological end game, the way I see it, and for fun, we'll start at the end of the 7 years of tribulation prophesied by Daniel. So we skip all of that rapture stuff, so we don't scare anybody. So we've got a millennial reign of Messiah here on earth. And there are those who survive those days of tribulation that are believers that Yeshua is the Messiah. Perhaps they were believers before, but they were Matthew chapter 7 type of people where, they were believers in name only that weren't keeping the law and that missed the rapture at whatever time it happened. And they knew enough not to take the mark of the beast, and somehow they miraculously survive those days, and they make it into the millennium. The 1/3 of the Jews that survive, and again, we know 2/3 will be destroyed according to the prophet Zechariah, that basically 1/3 will be left. So they have seen Yeshua return. They have looked on him whom they have pierced and mourned, right? And this is the time that I've told you before that I believe Romans 11 speaks of, that all of Israel shall be saved. It's not that every Jew, every person automatically is saved. It's just those that are left, those that remain, I believe, my interpretation, that they will be saved. So they're going to live on the earth. They will not have their glorified bodies. You and I, presuming we all make it, and may that be the case, right? That we all will have our glorified bodies, and we won't be tempted to sin. We won't be capable of sin anymore. But those who make it through the tribulation still may be able to sin and will sin. And this is why I believe we will be ruling and reigning with Messiah, because we're going to have a job for those 1,000 years, and it's going to be to teach folks the Torah, to lead them in the way that they should go, to stop sin when it happens and put an end to it. This is why I believe those leaves are for the healing of the nations, because again, they're not going to have the glorified bodies, but this is still going to be an amazing and a wonderful place on earth, right? Because the way I look at things and the way I understand things is God had always intended for Gan Eden, for the Garden of Eden, to be paradise, to be a place where he created his most beloved creation, you and me, in his image. That we would dwell here and he would come and dwell with us. He walked in the cool of the day, right? He walked the garden. He was here. He's everywhere, but he was here. Ask me to explain that, you're going to get another, I don't know. How he can be everywhere in one place at the same time, I don't know. But when all is made new, and we have a new heavens and a new earth, it's going to be this place that we find ourselves in now. It ain't going to look nothing like it is. It will be destroyed by fire. It will be purified. And I believe, again, this is opinion, this is just my thinking process on this, is the reason for the purification by fire is so that when we are working in the garden, never again will there be an archaeological find of pagan origin. Never again will there be remnants of the vestiges of sin from bygone millennia. All will be made new. The entire earth will be as the garden was back then. We will live in peace. We will have everything we need. We will see his face. He will be here with us. And it's everlasting. It never, ever will end. There will be no tears. There will be no pain. There will be no suffering. There will not be any boredom. We will serve him, right? Because he's looking for a kingdom of priests. What do the Kohanim do? They serve the Lord, right? And we will do what Adam and Eve were supposed to do. Subdue the earth. We're supposed to, work the land, but there's not going to be thorns and thistles and weeds. No weeding in the new kingdom. Amen? Any of you that have gardens or have had gardens, what a nightmare that is. Thanks, Adam. Just saying. But I just wanted to go through this today because, again, some people are motivated by pain. Some are motivated by pleasure. And for those of us that applies to, we need to know. We need to think about these things. And again, wherever heaven is, if it's up there somewhere and it's our time and we go to be with him, yes, we're going upwards somewhere. Don't ask me where, don't ask me how to explain it, but we go up to be with him. But eventually, that up is coming down to this plane, to this place, made new, made perfect. And you and I will be immortal. We won't be tired. We won't have aches and pains. Ain't gonna be no more blindness. So whether I get healed here or I get healed there, it's all gonna be the same. And it's gonna be good. So make sure you introduce yourself. If I don't get healed until then, make sure you introduce yourself because I won't recognize you, right? Let's close with Micah. I forgot, I think it's chapter 4. So we can go ahead and read that.
But at the end of the days, the mountain of Adonai's house will be established as chief of the mountains and will be raised above the hills. Peoples will flow up to it. Then many nations will go and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of Adonai, to the house of the God of Jacob. Then he will direct us in his ways, and we will walk in his paths. For Torah will go forth from Zion, and the word of Adonai from Jerusalem." He will judge between many peoples and decide for mighty nations far off. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning shears. Nation will not lift up sword against nation, nor will they learn war again. But each man will sit under his vine and under his fig tree, with no one causing terror, for the mouth of Adonai Tsevaot has spoken. Though all the peoples will walk each in the name of his God, so we ourselves will walk in the name of Adonai Eloheinu forever and ever.
Father, in Yeshua's name, we thank you for your word, and we look forward to the day when we will walk with you forever and ever, never ending. Father, that is an awesome promise. We're thankful for it. We're thankful for your word. We're thankful for the preparation Messiah has been doing for the past 2,000 years, preparing a place for us. Father, may we all be found worthy through the blood of Messiah Yeshua to enter into that great reward one day. May our families be found written in the Lamb's Book of Life. May everyone in this congregation be found in the Book of Life. And may many, 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 many more be found in the Book of Life because of what you are doing and will do in and through this congregation. Father God, use us for your glory. Use us to spread the news of your kingdom, the good news of salvation. And Father, may we all hear as we stand before you one day the words we all long to hear. Well done, good and faithful servant. Enter in, for great is your reward. We ask all these things in Yeshua's awesome, precious, and holy name. Amen.